I would like to take a minute here to introduce Charlie. Dr. Charlie Smialek has been superintendent of the Parma City School District since 2018, after serving as superintendent of Euclid City Schools from 2016 to 18. During his tenure in Parma, Dr. Smialek has focused relentlessly on enhancing student achievement, fiscal responsibility, and transparency. His leadership has led to innovative programs, including expanded gifted education and alternative learning opportunities. Under his guidance, Parma City Schools received the 2024 Momentum Award, recognizing it as one of Ohio's fastest improving districts. Now, I'd like everyone, if you can, just close your eyes for a minute. You don't have to, but maybe do it and just take a breath and we know it was announced this week that Charlie will be taking over as superintendent of Pickerington Local Schools. And a big change like this, with anything, can bring a mix of emotions. Sadness, like the loss of a loved one. Pride for the hard work and accomplishments. Concern of the unknown. I wanted to share a few quotes from articles published this week in local news outlets that I think embody a feeling felt by many of us, especially us at the Parma Area Chamber. Gratitude. Parma City School District Board of Education President Steve Vaughn said, "He's a good superintendent, probably the best superintendent I've ever worked with or for in my 45 years of education." When asked to share their thoughts to John Benson for Cleveland.com, all three of our mayors had positive things to say, both professionally and personally. Mayor Tony Biassiata thanked him for his devotion to the district. Mayor Tim DeGeeter said, professionally, he was constantly visible in the district. And on a personal level, I've enjoyed our conversations, appreciate his character and sense of humor, and, quote, he will be greatly missed. Mayor Marie Gallo acknowledged the loss but supported the decision, assuring the new district they made a great pick, and her, quote, hope that our next superintendent will have similar qualities to keep our district moving in the right direction. So with that thought in mind, I want to officially thank our friend and 2021 Parma Area Chamber of Commerce Bright Star Award-winning recipient, Dr. Charlie Smialek, and welcome him to the podium to share his 2025 State of the School.
Thank you, John. Now that my wake is over, can actually, I have a lot to say about 7 years, but today really isn't the state of me. Today is the state of the schools, so we will absolutely focus on the state of the schools and all of the proud things that we have to share with you today. I do want to thank the Chamber, though, certainly for all of your support during my time here and your ongoing support to our schools. Also, I would like to thank our three mayors as well, Mayor Gallo, Mayor DeGeeter, Mayor Biassiata. Thank you very much for your support. Mostly, I'd like to thank our board members who are here, Mr. Vaughn and Ms. Kirpick. We're certainly grateful for your dedication to our school district as well. We will mention very senior leadership team members during the presentation, and we'll recognize them at that time. We always start every meeting, have done so for 7 years, with our three goals: increasing student achievement, improving transparency throughout our communities, and practicing fiscal responsibility. So as we go through, we'll try to hit highlights in each of them. I will be honest, I said, okay, this is going to be the last one for me here. I'd really like to get to some questions and answers. I've never been able to do that. And yet, there's so much that we're proud of to share with you. I don't know that we're going to get there. So we will hit highlights. I would love to take questions and answers at the end. But I also recognize, it's a lunch hour, and we appreciate your time. This is our report card from last school year. They issued these in September. Our overall rating was 3.5. We'll share with you some of the ways that compared. Achievement was 3. Now, when we think about a star system, importantly, 3 stars means that you meet expectations. 4 stars means you exceed them. 5 means that you significantly exceed them. Anything lower than 3, you've got some work to do to meet state expectations. So when you look at achievement, we're meeting state expectations. Progress, we are exceeding. Gap closing, meaning when you look at all of our students of different socioeconomic demographics, are we catching students up so that we don't have large gaps in achievement between our different groups? We significantly exceed state expectations in how we do that. Graduation has been a concern for us. We are at 2. There's a lot of different factors that we've really examined to try to close that gap, because we do want to at least meet state expectations. We believe our next report card should get us there. Early literacy has been a struggle. I do want to say, not making excuses, but I do want to say if you look at every school district's report card in Ohio, their lowest score is going to be early literacy. And there's some political reasons that might be, but ultimately we know that we have to make sure that our students are leaving the 3rd and the 4th grade ready to learn, ready to read to learn. And so we've worked tirelessly at improving that. College, career, workforce, military readiness, we're excited for that data. We think that's something we do exceedingly well in the Parma City Schools, but that is not something that's rated yet from the state of Ohio. Next report card will actually have a grade for that. We've always believed that when you look at a state report card, there's so much data, and a lot of it, in all honesty, it's sort of mystical in terms of how they come up with these different calculations. Gap closing it's pretty difficult to explain. Progress is even harder to explain. But performance index, which is really a key component of the achievement indicator, performance index is something that we know, there's a very clear calculation right here. How many students scored on their state test at Advanced Plus? How many were at Advanced? And so you put all of the test performances from all of our students. We have 9,000. Now, not all of them participate. There's 20 different tests. Not all of them participate in all 20, obviously. They're at different levels. But when you put all of their scores into one number, our number is 82.2. And we've always believed that we want to continue to grow that. The performance index is what led to us getting that Momentum Award. So the Momentum Award was because of our improvement really coming out of COVID. This is really our COVID year. Coming out of COVID, we improved from 68.6 all the way to 82.2. So a very positive trend. Certainly the larger growths were a couple years ago, but we continue to move the needle in the right direction. And we're excited to be able to do that. We could not talk about achievement without talking about our career tech programs. No one does what we do. No one does what we do. We have 17 career tech programs in our 2 high schools. No one does that in the state of Ohio. In other school districts, you will take a bus to a career consortium or you will bus to a neighborhood high school, and the disadvantage to that is that you as that school district, you might only have 4 or 5 seats that belong to you. And you're sharing the 4 or 5 seats, or you're sharing the rest of the seats with other people from other school districts. All of our seats go to our students. Now, if there are extra seats, we actually avail them to students in charter schools within our district. And so we have some students from Constellation that take classes here through our career tech program. We have 2/3 of our juniors and seniors in some type of career tech pathway. 2/3. In most school districts, you're going to see 10, maybe 15, maybe 20% of students taking career tech. 2/3 of our students are enrolled in one of our 5-star programs. That is a phenomenal accomplishment. Now, Kristen Plageman has moved on. She's now a treasurer. Chuck Caldwell has picked up the ball and run really hard. We're very excited for the growth that he's going to have. He's actually adding an 18th program. Next year, our teaching professions will become education professions. It's a great pipeline so that we can continue to create a valued workforce tied to our school district. So we're extremely excited about that. That was Chuck. That's Chuck saying we have something great. How can we make it better? And so we'll have an 18th program, and that 2/3 could maybe be 70%. When you look at the results, 5 stars speaks for itself. It's a 5-star rating. We got all of them. The most exciting one to me personally, post-program outcomes component. So you have to look at what are students doing after they graduate. Are they in college? Are they in a trade school? Do they own a business? Are they in the military? What are they doing something gainful with their lives? We earned 5 stars, and the number of students that are doing something gainful with their lives at that point is above 90%. And so we're very happy of our career tech programs. It's always been a jewel. It will continue to be a jewel, and we're very proud of it. I think it's important to sort of have a grasp of how this compares to other districts. And I know as well as you do, a lot of you may know even much better than I do, how much negativity there could be from time to time on Facebook, and why aren't we North Royalton? Why aren't we Beechwood? Why aren't we name a district that's typically farther away from a downtown? Well, this group right here is who we really weigh ourselves against. This is the state of Ohio saying you compare to 20 districts in the state of Ohio, and that could be from any part. Now, the 5 that we know that would mean something in Northeast Ohio: Parma, Willoughby, Eastlake, North Olmsted, Berea, and Cuyahoga Falls. Those are our comparables within the area. There's others throughout, but names won't mean as much to you. They look at socioeconomic demographics, they look at income levels, they look at size of your population, they look at all of those things. Say, here's your group that we think you should perform with. Overall, we were right in the middle of those 5. This is the group of 5 here. Achievement, we were first. So our achievement ranking was first, tied with another district. Progress, same thing. Early literacy, no surprise. We were 4th. We know that we have work to do in early literacy. Gap closing, we were first by ourselves. Graduation, again, knowing that that's been a weakness for us and working very difficult at that, but we came in 5th. Performance index 3rd. So in terms of comparable districts, we're right there. Sometimes we're tied, sometimes we're exceeding, sometimes we're a little bit behind. So when people say, hey, how do you compare? This is the most relevant direct comparison. Now the other piece, though, that I would say to this is that when you look at averages, and you look at that same group of 20, and you look at state tests, we actually outperform our peers in 13 of 20 Ohio State tests in the last report card. So we are actually exceeding the performance of our peers, and those are peers that the state of Ohio has really, through a very difficult computation, given us. This is a sort of, now it seems like an annual look that we take here. Last year, we were 0.25 away from being a 4-star district. We asked everybody to give 1%, and we're going to get over that 4-star hump. We probably should have asked for 2%. We almost got there. This year, we were 0.017. This is all the calculations, all in the one. This is how they came up with your overall rating as a district. 0.017 away from being a 4-star district. Now, we know to an individual student, to the kids that did such a great job preparing lunch for us today, it doesn't mean a whole lot, honestly. They're happy coming to school. They want to feel like they're connecting with peers. But to our community, in terms of validation, to our staff, in terms of validation, who often have to go to Thanksgiving dinners and explain things to relatives that might be a little bit more cynical than they, that does mean something. We have moved the needle, and our needle is so close to getting over that rating that we really think would validate all of our efforts. So this year, to try to conquer that last 0.017, we have really tried to embrace 3 themes consistent in Collins' work from good to great. If you've read Collins, it's a business book. It's easy read. It's really one of the more, to me, practical business reads that I've had the experience with. So 3 themes that we've tried to ask our staff to embrace so that we can get that last 0.017 and get those 4 stars. The first is sort of the most controversial and yet very memorable. Everybody says this to me now. Rinse the cottage cheese. And everybody says it to me because they can't stand it and they think it's really gross, and now people don't eat cottage cheese anymore and all these negative things. But rinsing the cottage cheese actually came from an athlete, and he had looked at his life and he had controlled every single variable. I think he was a cyclist, to try to make sure that he could be the best possible athlete that he could be. And he actually got right down to rinsing cottage cheese of fat, because that was the last little variable in which he could improve his lifestyle. That's where we're at. When you talk about 0.017, that's the fat in the cottage cheese. We are that close. So every statistic, every piece of data means something. Brad Lyer, if you can wave Brad. Brad is our Director of Assessment at EMIS, which I am thrilled that Brad is here, because that is honestly, that means everything. The data we report to the state comes from Brad's department and Brad's office. And he has worked tirelessly to make sure that we're reporting accurate data. Part of what we have to do sometimes, and just as an aside, this is rinsing the cottage cheese. We recognized last year that 2 students withdrew from us. They went to Cleveland. They should be Cleveland's kids. Cleveland claimed them in the state database. But the kids never sat in a Cleveland seat. So Cleveland claims them, but it's at 0% attendance. So whose graduation rate did they count on? We were the last district to actually say they attended. Folks, we are that close. That moves that needle from 2 stars to 3 in graduation rate. Moves the needle in overall from 3.5 to 4. This is the work that we're engaged in so that we can make sure we are as accurately reporting as possible. The next is to embrace the hedgehog. If you think of the hedgehog would just kind of ball up and say, this is what I do. If I'm going to go down, I'm going down being myself. I'm not going to try to be that fox and run away from some type of enemy. I'm the hedgehog. I'm right here. I believe in myself and what I do. That's this for us. Our identity as a district, instructionally, is authentic literacy. Read, write, discuss. We have embraced this hedgehog of read, write, discuss for 7 years. We meet with our principals on a monthly basis, sometimes even more than that if required. And one of our principals said the other day, listen, we were talking about, how's instruction looking as you do your walkthroughs. He said, if people don't get it by now, they're just being defiant. We have 9,000 students. We have 800-ish teachers. To try to get consistency, and that's been critically important to us, we have to be that hedgehog. Now, Dr. Amy Cruz, if you can wave too, she leads our district leadership team, and she is our curriculum and instruction director. She has worked tirelessly as well to make sure that each year we may focus on a different element. And this year it's actually checks for understanding, our students asking good questions. But this is our identity. This is our playbook. And it's been the same playbook, and we will continue to invest in it to get over that hump. The last is ride the flywheel. And a flywheel, if you can think of that concept, is pretty difficult to get moving. But once you get it moving, it's extremely difficult to stop. Literally, we were named a momentum district. And so part of what we have is this desire within us to prove that we are doing a phenomenal job. And we have statistics to show that. We are that close to being a 4-star district. And so we've tried to get our staff to embrace the fact that this is not woe is me. That there are a couple more kids in your classroom of 25. Are there a couple more that you can take from basic to proficient? Are there a couple more that you can take from proficient to advanced? It's that type of effort that can get us that last 0.017. Moving to transparency within the community. Last year, because I had been here 6 years, and sometimes when you have that, sort of presence, you want to bring somebody from the outside to come in and listen. So we brought in the impact group, and they did all kinds of focus groups, all kinds of individual interviews. We had about 1,200 different responses to staff surveys, trying to identify what are our most important priorities to move forward. And from that impact group, from their work and from all of the participation of a lot of you in this room, we were able to develop a strategic plan. We call that our contract with the community. This year, our job is to execute the plan. And so we came from that strategic plan that was the impact group work and said, let's look at what does that actually look like in our district. We have 9 different groups who meet with members of our community because we want to continue to make sure that this is a community-driven process. And what you see in the numbers next to it, how many people are on the committee, but then how many of them are community members? We did an all-call. We tried to get anybody that we could to participate because it's so important that the community who is funding our education has a voice in how that looks and how we improve. So financial transparency. Sean is our treasurer. If you can wave, Sean. 5 members, 5 of them are from the community. Dr. Schneider is here as well. He's our assistant superintendent for operations, human resources. He's got 8. Carl, can you wave to people too? He's got 8 on his committee, 5 members of the community. We're very invested in continuing that connection. That is transparency. We can put all the things on social media that we want. And that's an important part of what we do, and Megan Cooney is phenomenal. Absolutely, we have the best social media that I've seen of any school district, and that's all her. That's very nice. That's one level, but a deeper level is our community members invested in making us better. We've had monthly meetings with those folks. We review last year's data. We explore current literature to make sure we're keeping current with what's happening in research. We've drafted action steps. We actually presented those to our Board of Education in January. Every time we have an action step, first part is clarify. What does that mean? What exactly does that mean? What are we going to do? Reinforce. How are we going to make sure everybody knows it? Monitor. What numbers matter in terms of making sure that we're making progress, and then finally celebrate. That's part of that flywheel. That's part of that momentum. That's part of making sure people understand that we are a positive, successful organization. We will report again to our Board of Education in June. We'll continue to connect, and again, this is a lot of Megan's work here, but since we've been here, we've believed in connecting with our community in any way that we can. We'll have an egg hunt. You see a little poster for the egg hunt here that's coming up April 12th. We promise you that the egg hunt will be better weather this year than last. If you remember last year's egg hunt, it was March 23rd, and it snowed. I mean, there were literally eggs in 4 inches of snow. We promise you, if you can help us out, if you want to come out that day, that would be great. March 23rd. I'm sorry. No, that was the bad one. This one's April 12th. Senior liaison, other events. We'll continue to do movies nights at Byers Field. This has been very popular, very family-friendly event that we've done there. Summer musical we host, which we're proud of as well. That's through the Parma Schools Foundation. We've had one each of the last couple of years. This year's will be at Normandy, and it'll be Wizard of Oz. Senior liaisons, John Schweitzer and Nancy Fedak, work very hard to get out into our senior groups and develop different activities with our students. With a lot of the Normandy Jazz Band is kind of a regular appearance now at the Parma Senior Center. We also provide freedom passes, meaning seniors can come to any of our events for free if they have one of those. If you need one, Megan can help you get one of those as well. Cosmetology and culinary discounts. We do have a discount card so that we want people to experience what our students are able to provide, and what culinary did such a good job of today. Student technology support is new. That's folks bringing in, maybe senior citizens bringing in their technology, working with our students to actually help them figure out how to hook up a new app or work a new app. And then finally, we continue to avail our facilities. It's very important that folks see our buildings as their assets. And so we allow walking, we allow swimming, and those are posted on our website as well. The least fun part of this to talk about, and yet probably the most important part, is the fiscal responsibility piece. Sean has been here 7.5 years now. He predates me by about 6 months. And Sean's done an excellent job of making sure that we have stayed in a place where we haven't needed to come. We haven't asked for, well, we did ask. We haven't received new money since 2011. If you look at all of our surrounding districts, I promise you they have passed a new money ask far more recently than 2011. A 14-year levy cycle is pretty much unheard of. That just doesn't happen, especially in Northeast Ohio. If you look at others, it's 2018, 2020, 22, 2011. And that's been a lot of belt tightening. It's been a lot of accurate reporting. It's been a lot of creativity on really behalf of all of us. Last year, in terms of maintaining our buildings, and this was the work that Dr. Snyder led, $5.7 million invested in projects from May through Labor Day. We were able, because of consolidation, and that was always the black cloud that hung over our head. We always wondered, well, do we really want to invest in this building because is it going to be there? And certainly the future of this district, in all sincerity, needs to be new buildings. But for right now, we have a footprint that we know should be here for 5 or 7 or 10 more years. And so we were able to make the largest investment in one summer that we had in decades. $5.7 million went into things like playgrounds, windows, roofs, asphalt, bus lanes, parking additions. None of those, my friends, are really kind of the sexy, the fun, the attractive options. But I will tell you that you walk into a new build, or you walk into John Muir with new windows, those staff members recognize it. Those parents recognize it. New playgrounds. We're getting thank you notes from students because their playground had, half of it was broken on a daily basis. You saw caution tape. I mean, these are, again, we're not making headlines with these things. Yes, we all would have loved to have the $250 million high school right at the corner, 54th and Longwood. But these make a difference for our students and staff on a daily basis. And I'm grateful for Dr. Schneider and his team leading that work. Here's our 5-year forecast. It's the elephant in the room. In 2028, we turn red. Now again, no new operating money since 2011. It's an impressive accomplishment. But that runs dry at some point. We experience inflation just like everybody else. And quite frankly, we've kept our staff salaries below the inflation lines. So at some point, we've got to say, what are we looking at here? And so we've made the difficult decision to invest in Let me just do the slides in the order that I put them instead of rethinking it on the fly. When you look at a 5-year forecast, here's why we have to come and ask all of you to support us, and if you live here, ask you to vote yes. 75% of our revenue, of our general funds, still comes from local tax dollars. So I know the state had committed years ago, I think Mayor DeGeeter, that was even probably before you being down in the State House, said, this is unconstitutional and we have to fix this school funding. It's too reliant on property taxes. They haven't moved the needle much, folks. Local sources for our revenues, 75%. State is only at 25%. So when we start to experience increases, money's not coming from the state. In fact, this year the projections are we're going to have less money from the state. We have to come to our local taxpayers. We have to say, what type of public education do you want to invest in? We have at times been criticized because it's out there. It's on some of the neighborhood watches and those focus groups or Facebook groups. 88% of our expenditures in our general fund are personnel. So that's salaries plus benefits. And folks have said that's above the state average, and that is true. Most state districts are about 82, 83%, some 80, but right in there. We're obviously a personnel-driven service. We're a service industry. But when you're out there, and you all have different constituencies, and you all talk to people, and you own businesses or your council people, and people ask you these things. And if we really want to give you some talking points in how to answer that, because that's a talking point that's out there. That's a hard question. We do our own career tech. Other districts, that's a purchase service. Or, in some districts, they're paying a second levy to pay for those career tech opportunities. So if you look at like a Berea tax bill, the bottom of it actually says Polaris, and it's a separate line item, so they're paying to the Berea City Schools and Polaris. That's not true here. We do it all in-house. Our print shop is in-house. We could send those things elsewhere and see a huge markup. We do that in-house. It actually saves us money, but it drives that wages and benefits percentages up. Instead of being a service, the money's actually less. It just goes into these pieces of the graph. Our mechanics are so sought after that other school districts are choosing to use our mechanics, but they pay a $15 an hour surcharge. That'll drive your percentage of personnel down. It's not fiscally responsible. We can do it cheaper and better with our own folks. The last piece is special education. We have worked tirelessly, and Megan McCaskey is another member of our senior leadership team. She was unable to be here today. We've worked tirelessly to make sure that we provide a full spectrum of least restrictive environments in-house. We want to make sure that we can educate them with our teachers in our classrooms, and that does two things. Number one, from a moral standpoint, it keeps that connection with our kids to our folks. They're not going to Steps. They're not going to Julie Billiard or some place in a different community. Number two, it saves us a lot of money. ACES is a program that we opened in 2020. It started with 8 students. We're up to 37 students now. For each of those students, we're saving approximately $60,000 by educating them here. But, again, it goes into that 88%. So when we talk about the 88%, the best way to remember this, yeah, but look at all they do. Look at the value they provide for families. you will see an ask from us. All of these conditions, they haven't had a new money levy since 2011, the fact that the state is cutting from us and not giving us more, the fact that our general fund is 75% locally funded. On the May ballot is a 6.9 mil operating levy. That breaks down to $20.13 per month per $100,000 of your home value. The first thing people always say is, well, come on, you know that's not my home value. Okay, but it's a nice round number and you can, adjust accordingly. You're going to see black and white signs, and this is it. This is the message. Support kids, support learning. That's what this is about. Our students, 9,000 of them, representing 6,000 middle and working class families. What type of education do we want to provide for them? What type of learning do we want to make sure happens in our classroom? Support kids, support learning. That's it. That simple. If we can't pass this year, so 2 chances, we certainly want to pass in May. If we can't pass this year, to have the same impact on our 5-year forecast, we would have to come back at 8.5 mils. So 6.9 now, if we want to still be as green as we can be all the way to 2031, which 6.9 gets us, we'd have to come back with a higher price tag. Right now is the time to do this. Our other option is to start looking at what we call our nuclear options. And these are pathways that are so yesterday Parma. These are pathways that if you attended our schools, I guarantee you can tell a story about how this impacted you or a friend or a brother or a sister because you lived it. We don't want to live this again. We have had a decade of stability and growing opportunities, not lowering opportunities. We want to continue to be that Parma City School District for all of our kids. If we can't get the 6.9 and then we have to look at the 8.5 and we just get into that downward levy cycle, this is all there is, folks. We've already cut from the top. If you walk into our central office right now, first of all, it's split in half. Half of it's at Parma Park, half of it's in Arlington. You're probably going to ask, where is everybody? We don't have many of us anymore. We've trimmed. We aren't top heavy. It's coming right from student experiences. Pay for participate. And we're not talking about $200 or $300 at a nominal fee. We're talking about you're gonna support it at $800. High school busing, gone. It was a promise we made the community when we went to consolidate, because we said that, a lot of the kids on the northern end, that's a good hike. We don't want to have to cut that, but that's clearly on the table. It's an option. We don't have to provide high school busing. State minimum says you don't have to do anything for high school kids. High school student day. We have to offer 5 periods a day. That's it. Can you imagine those 5-star career tech programs? How are we going to do that in a 5-period day for students? Couldn't. Not at the quality we offer now. Class sizes. Right now, we've really maintained. We're at 23, 24, 25. Some of our honor students, honestly, creep up above 30. But for the most part, we're right in that mid-20 range. Any educator will tell you that kids after COVID didn't get easier. Our kids have more needs. They need more attention. And so we don't want to have to ever get to that point of saying, it's the best we can do, guys. 31 kids, good luck. We have been able to provide a quality education that we all believe in. But it's time to have another investment. Help us. We've done studies. OEA, Ohio Educators Association, did all of our data work. And they clearly have a vested interest in this because they want to make sure that their members are continuing to be gainfully employed. They've looked at who votes in primaries, and they've looked at, do we think you're a likely supporter? And we're all educated adults here. That pretty much means, have you been pulling Democratic sample ballots? That's essentially who they're looking at. Certainly doesn't mean Republicans don't support education. You do. But in terms of trying to identify your target universe, it's about 10,000 folks that we think are likely to support us. We've got to get 7,500 votes. If we get 7,500 votes, if you look at the voter turnout in the primary in past elections, we get there. 7,500 is attainable. We're not sitting here asking for 25,000 yes votes. 7,500 is attainable. Our goal is to get 6 contacts with all of those. I will send to you today, you may ignore it, that's totally fine, but man, we could use your help. We're gonna have 3 literature drops. Last weekend in March, first 2 weekends in April. Our target doors are simply the folks that we think it's that 10,000 voter universe. Are you more inclined in our consultant's estimation to support public education? 60 doors is what we'd be asking for. It's about a 2.5-hour commitment. You can do it anytime on a Saturday or Sunday. We're really trying to keep, many hands make less work. Invite us. Now, I can't promise we're going to bring Dennis Kucinich, but hopefully this picture sort of summarizes we want to be anywhere that we can. So you want to have a business open house, you want to have a meet and greet, you want to have a block party, you want to have anything that you can have us, because ultimately it's that question and answer, it's that talking to somebody. We'll do our mailings, that's important too, but man, if we can get sort of a little audience, sure, Mr. Vaughn will come. We can get other board members involved. We can get members of our senior leadership team. Last week, Sean and I went and spoke with the Republican Club. Very, very positive experience. Ask good questions. That's what we want. We want to make sure that we can connect with our community. So please, any event, no event is too small. Looking ahead, just a few things that I think are exciting for our school district. Continued growth of Parma Academy of Gifted Enrichment. So one of the advantages to being 9,000 kids is it's big. You have a lot of staff, and if you can kind of creatively do some things, you can create unique opportunities. We are going to expand that to 6th grade next year. It'll be 3rd through 6th grade over at Parma Park. Pretty proud of that. This is the 3rd year that we've done it. 2nd year that we've done it. 2nd year. Partnership with Case Western Reserve University is something we've been working at through that as well. Our strategic plan, we'll continue to implement that. And then the last, and these are the pictures here, last year we attained a $4.2 million grant to expand our career tech programming. Not programming, but spaces. And so we're actually adding on to Normandy. If you drive around the back, you'll see sort of this addition that we're seeing here. So this is, if you want to come up later, this kind of lays it out nicely in terms of a carpentry lab, paint booth, auto collision lab. So this will give our programs even more space to great experiences for our kids. All of those things we're excited about. We're excited to be a school district that is continuing to expand opportunities. We're proud of that. And we want to be able to continue to have those conversations. A few closing words from our students, and then I'll have a couple thoughts as well.
Parma City Schools is where I feel at home. No matter which school you go to in the district, you will feel welcome.
I'm excited to take everything I've learned here in the Parma City School District and move forward in life and, build a career for myself from everything that I've learned here.
The Parma City Schools District has helped me to be the person I am today. by having teachers that are endlessly supportive and willing to give great advice as well as lend extra support if needed. On top of that, awesome classes.
That is the wizardry and artistry of Mr. Jack Tibbetts, who's behind the camera there. So, just want to close with a couple anecdotes here. First, this is Nick. Nick is a student in our ACES program, which is at Parma Park. I befriended him a couple of years ago, and Nick struggles. Profoundly autistic, behavior pretty erratic, often profane, often vulgar. I wonder what Nick's education would look like if we hadn't been able to provide what we're able to provide at the level of services that we currently have. But we also have to continue to have a revenue stream that can support that. At times this year in ACES, and there's a couple other programs in Parma Park, we were 9 employees down. 9 employees down because we have to operate within a budget. We can't just say, okay, we need some teacher assistants, let's increase the salary to $30 per hour. We can't do that. Right now, we haven't had to make draconian cuts, dramatic actions, but we also still, even without that notion, we still sometimes struggle to put in front of kids like Nick the adults that they need. Now, the other picture on this is actually the Cleveland Art Museum. And for some reason this fall, I was walking by it, and honestly I've run, I don't run anymore, you can tell. I've walked by the Cleveland Art Museum or jogged by it a good number of times in my life, and this never jumped out at me. But these words have so become ingrained in my head for the benefit of all of the people forever. Now that's the art museum, but I think it's not a hard tie to say that that's what we do too. There's no legacy points to get in the Parma City Schools. There's no admissions test. There's no means test. There's no if you behave, you're out. We benefit all of the people forever. The kids like Nick, who aren't going to go to Padua, not going to go to St. Charles, they're going to come here. And they're going to depend upon us having a skilled, talented, qualified, caring workforce to make all the difference we possibly can while they are in our trust. It is an aspirational, selfless mindset to support a collective instead of an individual. That's what we are. Our benefit is for the collective of Seven Hills, Parma, and Parma Heights. Every one of us benefits when we succeed, when we get stronger, for the benefit of all of the people forever. That will continue to be our mission. That will continue to be what drives us on a daily basis for kids like Nick. All of our kids, all of our community. That's why we're here, and that's why we need your help. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your attention. Let's get to work on passing that levy. Have a great day, everybody.
So we're just going to feature him a little bit here. This is Andy Liggins. Andy, you ready? Yeah. 1, 2,
'Cause